We can pretend to change, or we can say, you know, there's a hurricane coming, and we need to get ready for it. We need to change direction. We need to do everything we can to protect the people who are going to be caught in that storm and have no recourse. We need to fundamentally and radically look at our issues and our problems differently and challenge people to step up to the plate in ways that they never have before. Not Washington step up to the plate with your money, but you step up to your own plate and then give you the freedom and the opportunity to do that. That's a whole different mindset. It's interesting in this campaign, I've got two Democratic opponents who never saw a problem they think Washington couldn't solve. Right. And I've got a Republican opponent who wants to light. The direction doesn't exactly change, but we do it a little slower, and we talk about the fringes of things. We talk about getting rid of earmarks. John Murtha is my congressman. Do I really need to say anything more about earmarks? Really? No. But honestly, the conversation is so far past that. We have a $13 trillion debt. A couple of $1 billion in earmarks. Guys, that's like rearranging the deck chairs. I want the ship not to sink. We need to be a lot more direct than that. We need to be a lot more organized. We need to be willing to ask and answer harder questions. We need not only to give control to the states, we need to take a step back and say, you know what? We need to look at that tax code. It doesn't work. It doesn't serve any needs. Nope. Medicare is going to be broke in 7 years by the most liberal estimates. Social Security isn't going to be here. Now they're saying in 2 years that it's not going to be able to make the payments in 2 years. They spent it on everything else. Yeah. So if we look at our current tax code, it is not going to serve any needs. And you just can't keep raising taxes. Remember, blood out of arm into leg. Not going to work. We need to take the tax code apart and build it differently. There's lots of different ways to do taxes. I kind of like the fair tax as a beginning piece of the conversation. Yeah. It has some technical issues that need to be addressed, but we need something different.
Yes. You can't fit it on one page.
You can't say the same, because it isn't going to work anymore. The way that I kind of look at it, I think every generation of Americans is given a trust from the people who came before us. And we're supposed to hand it to the generation who comes after us. It's a trust that said that America was a family-centered society. Because when you think about it, families built this country. It was families who gave us the creators. It was families who crossed the continent. It was families who gave us the veterans and the people on active duty today. Every business was originally built by a family. Every Fortune 500 company started in somebody's garage, or somebody's living room, or somebody's kitchen. This is a nation that was built by family. And we understood that as long as we were a family-centered society, we were a free society. Mm-hmm. But in the last 40 years, we kind of lost touch. And we let Washington tell us that somehow the government was going to protect our freedom. Government never protects freedom. Government always steals it. It's the nature of government. Mm-hmm. Yes. You give a little bit of control to get things you can't do for yourself, because obviously every family can't have its own army. So you give away a little bit of freedom, you give government a little bit of control to get the things that families can't do alone. But when they built that Constitution, they understood that government is not the protector of individual freedom. It's a thief. And they attempted to put chains around the thief, kind of keep the thief in its cell. We didn't pay attention. We didn't hold on to the thief. We allowed the government to convince us that Washington was where freedom was held. That's our fault. That's our fault. All these years, we have counted on America. We are at a point in our history where America needs to be able to count on us. Defending the trust is our job. Making sure that the next generation has everything we had is our responsibility. We are standing right at the cusp. where the trust is about to be lost forever. We are no longer a society where families are honored. We are no longer a society where freedom is cherished. We are no longer a society where the future is filled with hope. If we are going to hand that society to our children, we as families need to stand up and remind Washington that freedom doesn't live there. Freedom begins at home, and if we have to go to Washington to remind them, we're going.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you have questions, I'll try to answer. No math. Yes.
Yeah, I just never heard anyone running for Senate that used Lugsik. How did you?
Yeah, where'd you get that from?
You know, I'm sorry.
No.
Don't apologize.
I see. I get these emails from this man named Casey, and they're entitled things like Bob and Barack, and he's associating himself with idiocy and bad ideas, and yeah, you got my vote 100%. So.
Thank you.
Yes. I have a question for you. The First Amendment to the Constitution says that we have the right to peacefully assemble and petition our government for redress of grievance.
Yes.
And if you go back to the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson listed 20-some complaints that they had with King George, and it really had a lot to do with the compact that they had with the king, like their Constitution. And after he listed those complaints, he said, in every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms, and our repeated petitions have been answered by repeated injury. Okay? That resulted in the Continental Congress of 1774, and in 1776 we had a Declaration of Independence. Today, in 2009, there's going to be another Continental Congress. I don't know if you've heard about it or not, but the election is this week, and I have some forms if you can fill one out. You can vote. But my question to you is, if I send you, as a senator, if I send you a petition for redress of grievance, will you answer it?
Yes.
Okay, and here's one I'll send
You know, that's a.
Let me take this
I
to the
want to
next
say this
step.
because that's the kind of question I can't believe any candidate would say no. So,
we have
you know, I don't
petition.
want to be cheap about my answer to you. Is what I'm saying. Throughout the campaign, and maybe this is absurd, I believe that the way you run your campaign is the way you run your government. So in my campaign, if you contact the website, you get a live person who answers you. If you ask for me, sometimes you have to wait for me because I travel, so you may have to wait. But I do try to answer personally if it's something that needs me. And in each of the events that we've done, we don't do pay-for-play events. So people get to come in, and just like you get to ask anything you want, you get to ask anything you want. That happens in all of my events. So I think that this is, you have a right to know what I think, and I've been known as blunt as a herd of charging elephants, and my children will tell you that's on a good day. So I'm going to tell you what I think, and then you can agree or disagree, and I run my campaign that way. So I would run my office that way too.
I would give you an example. The U.S. Constitution says in Article 1, Section 10, I think it's Clause 5, says that states will accept nothing but gold and silver in payment of debt. Why are we not on a gold and silver standard? And why are we violating the Constitution? And what will you do, or what will Washington do to correct it? Because if we were on gold and silver right now, we wouldn't be in the problem we're in right now.
That's right. Amen.
You asked me 3 questions. I'm not going to give you a history lesson, since I think you probably already know the answer.
Yeah.
So we won't go back through yesterday, and I can't
But we
control what
violated
happened
the
yesterday.
Constitution. What we did, we violated the Constitution.
We have violated the Constitution about 60 times, I know. At this point, we're kind of a mess. And so, in terms of moving back to things, my personal opinion is that in some cases it's a one-jump fix, and in some cases we've made such a convoluted mess that it's going to take a little while to fix it. Where I would start right now is I like Ron Paul's auditing the Federal Reserve bill and would be a champion of that.